And we are live. Hello, folks. My name is Ruben Dua from the Connection Loop podcast. God, I'm so psyched today. We've got Adam Robinson, a legend. This man right here went from zero to $23 million in SaaS annual recurring revenue. That's that favorite acronym that we all love. R in 0 to 4 years, bootstrapped. Let's break this down. How did you do it? I want to hear the war stories. Hold back nothing.
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here, Ruben. And, there's like a 1 minute version and there's like a 10-hour version, and we're going to try to land somewhere in between that.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, the first thing I would say is this is my second SaaS startup. My first SaaS startup, I was able to get to 3 million and it got stuck there. And this, I was operating in an incredibly competitive space. So it was the email newsletter space. Second oldest software as a service space, highly competitive. There are a couple dominant brands, and then there's like 200 vendors doing 2 million in ARR.
Mm-hmm.
I say it's analogous to trying to sell cola against Coke and Pepsi. Like, you're probably not going to beat MailChimp. Like there's a couple other vendors, but that's kind of it. So, I was stuck at 3 million ARR for 4 years, which is miserable.
They call it the slow ramp of death, right?
So actually there's a great, if you YouTube that, the slow SaaS ramp of death.
Yeah.
Gail Goodman gave an incredible presentation with that title. Gail Goodman is actually the founder of the first company in this space that I'm talking about, Constant Contact.
Yes.
And she tells the story of how it's just incredibly difficult, $15 per month at a time, to pay salaries and marketing and all that's necessary. MailChimp was able to do it with no external funding because they created such an unbelievable funnel with this free offer that they had, that was a lot of expense that they didn't have to lay out hard dollars for. And ultimately they surpassed MailChimp or Constant Contact. But I found that when I was stuck, I was questioning my prowess as an entrepreneur. I was just a $3 million guy. I would hear things that were working for other people who were farther along than me, and then go try them and they wouldn't work. And that was extremely frustrating because, it was a good lifestyle business, but it was like shrinking at 1% a month or 0.5% a month. And it's just like, it's like a really weird place to be in. Like a nice, steady lifestyle business as a single guy when you like want a family and it's like shrinking on you. So,
well, you own your job, right?
Yeah, it's good and it's bad. So I spent basically 3 years in a row trying some big stuff that didn't work at all. And then this thing, which I have 2 businesses right now. One is called retention.com. It's 22.5 million ARR. We sell person level website visitor identity technology and a bunch of related workflows to e-commerce companies. I just launched a product 3 months ago for B2B people. So like if you're watching this, you would use this product. People can hit your website. They can leave, not fill out a form. I'll pop a LinkedIn URL and a business email of that person into a Slack channel 100% free. It's a freemium offer, just like this MailChimp thing. And that is blowing the doors off. People absolutely love it. And it just, triggers any sort of outreach you want to do. So retention.com used to be called Get Emails. When I was stuck with this first company, I was trying to do stuff that MailChimp either could not or would not do. And I made a few attempts that didn't work. And then finally I landed on this you can actually get an email address from a website visitor who didn't fill out a form. I was like, that's crazy. That sounds illegal. But man, even if it is illegal, I feel like a lot of people would buy that, And it turns out in the US, you can actually do this. I think indefinitely, the most conservative privacy people think that in maybe like 5 to 10 years, there will be some regulation which prohibits this. You cannot do it in Europe. The GDPR rolled through and ended all that. With the way that the California regulation and the state level regulation is now, with appropriate, we got a bad, if you scroll down, we got a little bad formatting there. on a
Okay.
video. It just caught my eye. But yeah, this is a compliant thing to do in the US. And I basically heard about it, and it took me 1.5 years to figure out how to do it from a technical standpoint. And we launched it beginning of 2020. And just to give you an idea of how different this was than the startup I was working on at the time, like we launched it and I did $5,000 of Facebook ads. And the Facebook ads were like, I watched a video sales letter instructional video on digitalmarketer.com. I basically changed the script template to be the value points and, objection overcomes and all that. Paid $1,000 to get it done in word art. I had a very crappy voice recording on my iPhone. And I threw it up on Facebook, $5,000 of ad spend, got 10,000 monthly recurring revenue. So month, like month one,
Monthly
like first
recurring.
3. Yeah, exactly. So that was a signal that I had never received before. I had never felt anything like that. If I spent, and this would happen, like, when you're stuck and you're reaching for anything, and I'm sure people can relate to this who are stuck right now and listening to this, like, it's kind of like never ask the barber if you need a haircut. If you are stuck and you speak to somebody who runs Facebook ads for SaaS companies, they will tell you that Facebook ads are the reason that you are stuck, and you not doing them is why you're stuck, and they can get you moving from a Facebook ad. They're wrong. They're wrong. That is not true. The reason you are stuck is because you do not have product market fit. It's a hard thing to say it the correct way. I think the most true way you can say is your product is not good enough, and that's why you're stuck. If your product was good enough, it would be growing on its own, whether you were running ads or not. I know because I've been on both sides of this now. I've had 2 products that are growing like wildfire on their own. I had one that I had to shove down people's throats and they didn't even want, right? I have this very deep belief that if you can achieve word of mouth in your product without you advertising it at all, there are 1,001 ways for you to accelerate that word of mouth in the world that we live in, the way that it's set up. If you do not have word of mouth at all, nothing you do will work to market.
Well, it's that North Star metric, the social coefficient that so many of us try to drive for. For every customer that I acquire, how many additional customers can I acquire to ultimately offset this ROAS, return on ad spend? So yeah, keep preaching. I'm listening.
So 0 to 1 for me was this crazy Facebook ad campaign. And if you go to the bottom of the retention.com YouTube page, I should have sent you this link. You can see that I've got really crappy versions of these ads. It was like COVID. It was right around the time Snap was really gaining steam, and like Instagram stories or whatever. So I thought, what if I wasn't even on social media in my personal life, but I was like, what if I could make an amusing talking head ad with me and my girlfriend at the time? Like would, if you go to all videos and scroll all the way down, you start seeing them. Like if I made 1 60-second ad per week, would people start anticipating the ad the next week? And I could just answer all the sales questions in like a funny way. So somehow that worked, and it, like, the ad campaign got a life of its own. We were like dressing up in costumes. We had this, like, the first one you'll probably see in a little while is like me dressed as Donald Trump and her dressed as Melania. Yeah, they're just slightly up from there. Yeah, these are all them. So, I was using a lot of props or whatever. So the nature of these Facebook ads, in that one, that word art one, that was the first ad that I described. The OG Get Emails vid is horrible. I mean, but like that's when you kind of know, right? Like if an ad like this is giving you an immediate 2x ROAS in like a day, then you're on to something,
Well, it's a great test. You're basically testing your product market fit to see if your product aligns with your ideal client profile, and then if you have a real business on your hands, I mean, that's brilliant.
Totally. And I think Facebook is probably still good for this. The problem you're going to have with Facebook and SaaS, in all of my experience, is that it will bring you some good customers, but it's like 1 out of 50, and the other 49 are going to be like a 20% churn per month wantrepreneur. Like they're not. But what it did do was, so I basically did it for 6 months and the nature of this ad campaign was like, we would get one big guy to come in because we had like a PLG motion where people could click their way to like $5,000 a month or something. So we get one big guy in every couple of weeks, and it would just pay for the ads for the 2 weeks before. And then 6 months in, that stopped happening. And we were like, it'd been 8 weeks. We hadn't gotten a big guy. And it's like, this brings such bad customers in anyway. And it's like clogging up our whole system. Like, we got to stop doing Facebook ads, and we switched to cold outreach. But the magical thing these Facebook ads did is it created this awareness for this thing that did not exist 6 months before. So I believe so it was like the product was good. It had word of mouth on its own. This Facebook ad campaign, although we had very few remaining customers from it when it was done, it kind of made everyone aware. And I still to this day have people come up being like, I think that I know you, it's like, wait, you were that guy from these Get Emails ads, right? This is you and your girlfriend or whatever. So it created this fantastic awareness that I think made the cold email work a lot better. It's like, it was a much less cold email because we had hit everyone in this audience that we were emailing with a few ads already. So and it humanized this sketchy product too. I mean, what I'm saying is like, literally like the red flag is like, that doesn't sound like you should be doing that. Right. Like, so part of the strategy is just like try to make a face, be associated with this technology rather than, but yeah, now it's called retention.com. Used to be called Get Emails. And then this is the one that you have up right now that we just launched for B2B companies, right? So if
I love this. And the story that I'm sort of extracting from this and really being inspired from is this idea that you're taking all of these learnings, all of these failures, and then you're now applying them to your newest startup, rb2b.com. And the thing that's so amazing about this is that you feel 100% comfortable being vulnerable, being authentic, being the spokesperson of this company. And effectively what you're doing is building this parasocial relationship where people now identify you as the brand, someone that's had success, someone that has a pre-existing startup that's very successful, and that's someone that's willing to innovate and provide a solution for several years, until the next great thing comes along. And I think that's awesome, because I think one of my biggest challenges as a CEO of a video company that says, guys, please go record videos, your screen, your face, I don't care, just do it, because you need to connect with people on content. It's this idea of people not feeling comfortable with video. I've got this software platform. Let me just send them the link. Let me send them a screen video and they can just see it there, or an article or a case study. But no, it's you. It's your founder story. It's your origin story. It's like, what are the big macro trends? Like, teach me something that's going to keep me around for years, not for like a 2-month trial. So what advice can you give people to like be comfortable in their own skin and to just be the person that they need to be on the internet so that people can buy from them and they can clone themselves?
Yeah. So like, I could not agree more with everything that you say. I am the biggest SaaS guy on LinkedIn right now. And I heavily use video for this reason. I think I have a bit of a different approach than most other content creators on LinkedIn. I'm literally, the purpose of what I am doing is attempting to make people feel like they know me like a friend. I'm bringing them along on a journey. I'm putting my face in front of them. I'm allowing them to see my mannerisms. I'm expressing a type of vulnerability that I literally have people walk up to me and ask how I can write that and put it out in the open, right? Like April, we had an up month last month, but April, it was our 4th down month in a row, and we were down more than we were down the prior 3 months. And I was like, I put it on a monthly update every month because I'm doing a work in public thing. And I'm like, down 2.3% this month. It's 4th down month in a row. Like, never had a down month before this. I don't know when this is going to end. Everything changed about our market. Like, it's horrible. horrible competitive dynamics. You know, we're going to figure it out. I just don't know when it's going to be, right? Like that. It's almost absurd to imagine a SaaS CEO saying that publicly. Like everyone is acting like everything's okay in this world that we live in, and everyone is getting absolutely smoked, right? So, so when I started this content creation effort, I had
actually, sorry to cut you off. Let me actually, I just want to spend a moment to understand that, because you know, that's a real empathetic moment there that I think people can really connect to, because I think a lot of SaaS companies can completely relate to what you just said, that there is a shift. You know, what do we call this? We're not calling it post-pandemic. We're not calling it recession. Are we calling it pre-AI revolution? Like, help us to understand what's happening from your perspective in the market that might result in SaaS companies, you know, suffering right now.
So like, pandemic and zero interest rate policy created a lot of strange, incredibly powerful tailwinds for people selling software, I think.
Okay.
Retention.com sells into the e-com world. Those companies were getting funded left and right, and they aren't anymore. I mean, for the most part, like some of the best ones can raise money, like almost no one else can. And I mean, that's, if you can't raise money in a startup ecosystem, it's dying, right? Like, so, and then I think, you know, the availability of venture capital to fuel the growth of, you know, more money just makes everyone buy everything, right? So that has been very difficult to adjust to. It will come back at some point, but like, I don't think it's anytime soon. So that readjust, you know, 2023, I think for a lot of software companies was like a big readjustment year. I mean, AI is like the lone outlier as far as I can tell. It's like the top AI companies are like to the moon parabolic in a way that has never happened before. But I think it probably like skews the average of what's actually happening for a lot of people out there. But yeah, I mean, there is a definitive, like, it is harder. And then the way people were growing these software companies is harder now too. It is harder to execute sales outreach. I have heard that there are a few pockets, like, you know, if you call into like developers at like government positions, right? Like you can still cold call them and it works. Almost everybody else has said that response rates to the outreach that they are doing, if they compare it to, not even in 2020, but like if they compare it to May of 2022, so just 24 months ago, they're getting half the responses they were before. So it's like people are buying less, but everything, the playbook that worked during that era because people were buying so much more, the playbook itself has become much more difficult to actually get to work for you. And at the same time, the market for financing is kind of, air keeps coming out of the bag. So people are faced with either doing down rounds or downsizing their teams and just accepting kind of like a lower growth paradigm. And it's look, just like things get wound up in a positive cycle and like everything's helping everything, we're just in a slow negative cycle where everything's kind of hurting everything. There'll be this moment when it switches and heads the other way again, and we probably won't even know it for a year afterwards or something like that. But I think we're still in like kind of we're letting air out of the bag slowly but surely.
I really appreciate how you put that. It's a great summary of this sort of perfect storm. You know, some of the intel that I'm starting to gather is that people are like, look, our marketing people first of all, the churn rate has been really challenging. It's hard to keep them. And now we've got AI to basically replace 9 out of 10 of them. So, marketing people, marketing jobs have changed. They've shifted, right? Now, I don't want to say anything bad about marketing jobs right now. Like, you shouldn't get into marketing right now, but my goodness, do your research because AI can do so many things right now. Number two is churn rates with SDRs, sales reps, just generally speaking, has been difficult. I mean, some sales reps expect to get 80, 90, $100,000 in some parts of America, just as like a base salary, Silicon Valley for sure. And it's like, wait a minute here. Where's the proof of concept? How are we even going to monetize this? And now I think, founders and sort of demand generators are trying to figure out, how do we use automation? How do we use AI? And how do we use technology like yours? Like, that's cool.
It's dope.
Like, I get it.
If you,
I get it.
It's not, to me, it's not surprising. I also like made a big free offer, like the MailChimp offer, to just like make it, because my whole thing was like, my whole thing was like, okay, response rates are going down. That is a fact, right? What if they kept going down forever and there was like a 0 reply rate to any traditional outreach? What business model would work, right? Like, how would you sell software?
YouTube.
And,
if everything falls, it's all YouTube.
Well, dude, like, but my whole thing is like organic social media.
Yes.
Like so like it's organic social media combined with an offer that has intrinsic virality built into you making the statement about what it does. Right.
Well,
and those two things can work together.
It's that the definition of the hand raise has changed. 5 or 10 years ago, it was a form fill. It was an email response. It was a calendar booking. Now, this is the modern era of the hand raise where someone just, actively, passively visits the website. They do their research. And then now, as the sales professional, we need to go and call Reese and call Kat and say, what's up, Jason? I saw that you checked out the site. I saw that you were on a case study. I saw that you came from LinkedIn or YouTube. Let's talk.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think the definition of marketing is shifting. And I think so much more can be done through, like, the world, I hate to use the word influencer, the world is set up to consume influencer type content, right? So like, I put half of my energy into either creating content for LinkedIn, which is where our entire audience is, or being on other people's podcasts who have similar audience to what I have. My justification for it is, even people listening to this on like a run or something, they're giving it like at least 10 times more attention than they would ever give an ad that got served to them.
Yeah.
If I write LinkedIn's all about deep thought leadership. And like, first of all, AI can't create it because deep thought leadership is about the perspective of the author. It's and you couldn't give ChatGPT all my posts and be like, tell me how May went at retention.com. Tell me like the just pain chamber that Adam is in right now because like 3 of his executives like hate him like for whatever reason. So I mean, I can only imagine a world in which on all of these platforms, increasing amounts of actual focused attention go to whatever the influencer content is on that medium. And it shifts away from like sort of push type ads. And then as it becomes harder and harder to actually reach out to people, I think you need to use whatever tricks are in the bag to get your product to spread on its own, and then enter a salesperson in the process later on, right? Get them using something, and then these are not like revolutionary ideas here, I don't think, but it's like, I was starting this new business. I was like, if we do a sales-led motion to the mid-market space, that will probably work today. I literally don't know if it's going to work in 2 or 3 years because these emails that, so it's like, what I do believe is that if I can make Adam Robinson this person that my entire audience feels like they know, like a friend, and they're telling each other my stories, and they're along on this journey with me, I think that if I send them an email, they'll pick it up and they'll
Yeah.
respond. I don't
Right.
think if Pete Crowley, who works for me, sends them an email that they will respond to that. Right. So
Mm.
like, it's like, I think the bigger you can sort of and look, like I'm on LinkedIn and I'm like my ideal customer profile and they're all on LinkedIn too. So like I do LinkedIn, right? But like if you can create this type of relationship and you as the CEO own this relationship with your audience, then it just makes every other channel work better. And then by using a technology that captures website visits, anybody that's coming from any channel is going to visit your website.
Yeah.
I don't care whether it's cold email, partner channel, if they're looking at SEO, like anyone who you get their attention, if they're listening to this podcast, they're going to go look at our B2B. So that's why I love that signal, because if you take that signal and filter down people in your ideal customer profile, you can use a human to improve the efficiency of every other channel that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right.
It's like not really about like, oh, it's a lead. It's like not a lead because it's only a lead because you created this signal somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's
Right.
like that's how I like to think about this tech. Like not so much as like, oh, we're giving you new leads. It's like we're making all of the other channels in your world work better, more efficiently. We're lowering the CAC inflation rate.
Right.
That is
CAC
just
inflation rate.
eating
Hey,
all
there's
of
my
us
nightmare.
alive,
There's
right?
my nightmare.
Yeah, totally. It's
That's
like what, your wife's like, what's the worst thing that could happen to you? It's like, well, if CAC goes up and churn goes up at the same time, I'm fucked. It's like, well, that's happening to all of us.
right. Oh man. It's so funny as the SaaS terminology and the SaaS metrics, they swirl through my mind all the time. And there are some times where I distance myself and I just say, you know what, I don't want to trust the data because I'm so rooted in the data. Like what's my LTV and what's the most number of team members in an industry that we cater to? Because let's just focus on that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, we're trying to be a product-led company. If we can just get people to use our tech on a daily basis and it's sticky and it gets them results, like that's everything,
Yes.
results. And we try to root ourselves in that. How can we as SaaS founders, as SaaS sales leaders, as SaaS marketers do a better job to convey the most important things, results? Like I'm so tired of seeing, AI platform to boost your sales. Like how many
Yeah.
times are we going to read that, Like, wait a minute, I want real results and I want you to understand what my problems are. How can we be more specific?
Some people are going to hate this answer, but like you're kind of alluding to it. Man, I'm almost embarrassed to say it. Like I don't measure anything. Like literally like nothing that I spend my time on. Like, okay, you can see my LinkedIn followers going up. That's a proxy for what I believe that I'm doing. But whether they go up or stay flat or whatever, the strategy behind my LinkedIn is not measurable. I think it's different than other founders because of what I talked about earlier. It's like I am trying to make people feel like they know me like their friend, right? Like, and that's the goal of this. So I try to get on as many podcasts as possible, right? Like sometimes I'll be on a big webinar in a week. Sometimes I do a keynote, whatever. Our signups are all over the place, right? Like I kind of look at them just because we have an executive coach and we're trying to roll out entrepreneurial operating system and you need a scorecard. But like, I'm not, I'm doing what like feels to be the directionally correct things. In the way that I am doing them, I could never measure the success of them other than anecdotally, other than walking into an event of my ideal customer profile and just getting approached by people and them literally just saying, dude, I can't believe that you like wrote that last week. Or like, I can't,
Yeah.
like something like that. So I think it's very, very easy with the tools available to us to get way too concerned with things that can be measured and lose sight of the fact that, I mean, I believe this, the most important things you just can't measure. Like the most important things in creating exponential growth are unmeasurable in many ways, right? Like I'm trying to create, like, I think I've managed to, right? Like, this, I don't know what you want to call it, like brand heat between my founder brand and this free product and trying to be on every podcast. So it's the perception of I'm every place at every time. And, you know, we have this like really nice PLG pull agency motion. So now in this world, if you live in it, which is like demand gen people, some salespeople or whatever, some SaaS founders, it's like, if you live in that world on LinkedIn, like I'm the guy, but like, you can't measure I'm the guy. You know, but it's like something that I sort of believed to be a possibility that would like lead to like a potential explosive growth in the beginning. But it's like, it's kind of like the what you're saying about churn. It's like, I totally agree that the best thing that you can do is just get people to actually use it and then provide results when they're in there. Right.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to just look at different things and like optimize different stuff and like whatever. It's like, oh, you know, do surveys and all that, whatever. But it's like, I don't know. I'm really by the gut in this regard, though. Like, probably makes me a really good early stage guy, and like maybe not a great like if we get to like 100 million ARR, maybe I'm not the CEO for that company. You know?
Yeah. They have special jets for you for then.
Right. No, I'm looking forward to that.
What I really connect to you on is this idea is that you're sort of the opposite of artificial intelligence. You know,
but then I was about to tell this. So I shared an office with the Jasper AI guys.
Oh yeah.
2 years before they started that company.
Oh
and
yeah.
then I watched that thing go from 0 to 50 million the first year. I understood what it did, and I hadn't started creating content yet. But when I started, I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to do everything in a way that this machine can't do it. Because that machine is going to create a flood of B- crap. And if you can be this max human, max authentic thing, you will get pushed even higher because the B- crap will make us starved for a voice that is that.
It's so true. I mean, I think what we're living in right now is this law of shitty click-throughs, where you know there's another thing, there's another shiny object that's going to get people to click on stuff. You know, it's the AI. It's who knows what it is. There's always cool stuff that's coming out. I mean, some of the generative stuff for sales, like a talking avatar. We have actually innovated in this space and we built this. But when I look at some of this tech, I'm like, do people really want a talking avatar? You know. And I think YouTube is a reason for it, because sometimes you just don't have a spokesperson and you just need to have some narrator do it. So I like that. But like nothing is going to replace that human connection, that we get. And I think that, AI, we're all benefiting from it in some capacity with our copy, with our videos, social posts, scheduling, automation, whatever. But my goodness, the pendulum is, in my opinion, just imminently going to swing back to like, who are the people that actually took the time, like Adam, to actually build their personal brand up, to actually create original content, to be the voice on podcasts, so people can actually feel something like empathy and compassion and curiosity, which ultimately we're going to just stop feeling for AI.
I think so. Yeah, there's this weird thing. I think I said this earlier. It's like, I think that my stuff. So for instance, I have a LinkedIn coach. I think that if he wrote the same words as I write from his profile, he wouldn't get a single like, because the perspective doesn't make sense based on who he is and his role in the world, And that is what I think at the moment AI does not deliver. And it's like Rick Rubin said this. He's like,
I read his last book.
So good. But on this podcast, he's like, I believe that what makes art great is the perspective of the artists.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's not clear to me that AI has a perspective.
Mm.
And I agree with that.
I listened to that podcast.
The one at Huberman?
It's the Huberman. It's the
Yeah.
Huberman Lab. Yeah, I listened to that. It's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
all
no,
this is at the end of the day. It's
Mm.
just like it's for business purposes, but like this is our art in the world, right? Like,
right.
strangely.
Oh my gosh, I recently met someone and I just got the chills on my neck thinking about this. And this person was really suffering from this victim mentality. They had gone through some real nasty hardship in their life and real animosity towards, people in their lives, which I understand. I have compassion and empathy for that. I mean, people go through struggles and it's terrible what people go through. But there was this sort of art, there was a sort of expression that this person had, which would come out and I would receive it and I'd be like, wow, I'm actually feeling something. I feel inspired right now. Like, you should be on a stage. You should write a book or make a song or make a movie, because what you're conveying right now is what people yearn for. It's such a visceral level, like real pain and suffering. And I hate to say it, but pain is art. Pain is SaaS. Pain is software. Pain is all the things that are worth anything in this, on this little rock. And there are some people that understand how to rechannel that. And I think that for SaaS founders, God, we have pain because we have failed, we've been fired, we lost funding, all sorts of things have happened. And now we get to go write lines of code and ship that code and close deals to go and ultimately alleviate other people's pain and get paid in the process. My question for you, Adam, is how have you channeled your pain in your life, from your failures, from your disillusionment, from your disappointments, all the things that you've gone through?
I mean, I just think it's like, it's very motivating for me, failure and just being stuck. Look, I say this all the time. It's like my experience of the entrepreneurial journey is I experience this growth wave and then I get stuck, and it's earlier than I thought it was going to happen. And it's happened a few times, and there's, micro sort of S curves in the middle of it. But when I am at one of these periods where I'm stuck, when I was stuck at 3 million, I didn't know. That was a confusing one because it was my first startup. I didn't know whether I was a good entrepreneur or not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I created this thing, but I can't make it grow. Like, what? So now at least I feel validated as a founder. You get a bootstrap over 20 million ARR. That's a fairly elite club you're getting into. Like, you bootstrap over 100 million. There's like 2 people who've done that before, something like that. So, and about retention.com, like, I thought that 18 months ago, I thought that was a unicorn twice over. I thought it was going to have metrics like Klaviyo. I thought it was going to be, by now it'd be 75, 100 million ARR. And just, we didn't solve this churn problem. And it's like, it's really hard to grow it past 22, 23 million ARR because the CAC LTV is like 2x. So it's like the payback time is decent, but like, we're just losing people because of several reasons, competitive dynamics and high churn product category, high churn buyer persona, all this stuff. But it's very motivating for me to think, now I believe in myself. I sort of, I feel like I had a false confidence at 3 million. I'm like, surely I can get this thing bigger than this, but like, there's no proof. Like, kind of like getting through the next, but I was highly motivated to do it. At the time, I think it was like a lot sort of long-term financial. It wasn't like, oh, I need to make money tomorrow, but it's like, I'm living in Manhattan. I'm single, make a few $100,000 or whatever. That's just like not enough to make a family work here. So like with my shrinking business, it's like a very weird place to be in financially. And that was incredible motivation. I think now, like, I'm just deeply curious about whether I can bootstrap 100 million ARR or not. And like the next stop's 50, right? Like, for sure. But I would consider 2023 for us a failure. Like, we were at 15 million in the beginning of the year. I was 100% sure we'd get to 50 by the end. And we got to 21 and a half. Sounds like a strange fail, but like, that was a fail. And like, we're really having to get our act together and figure it out. And now I'm just like, highly motivated to figure out if I actually have it in me to do what I thought I could do a year ago. You know, it's like, can I get, you know, can I, can I get this thing to, you know? And like, yeah, it's great to be rich or whatever, but like, you know, it's definitely not like if somebody were like, I'll buy all your businesses for $1 billion tomorrow. Yeah, I'd probably sell them. But like, I really want to know if I could get it there myself, you know, like it would be a very dissatisfying liquidity event because I will have stopped at the exact moment that I feel like there's a big S curve happening in this like new thing that I'm starting, and I have no idea where it's going to end up, you know? So, really long answer, but like my failure gets churned, it gets transformed into this like hunger to just push farther.
Well, and I think what probably catalyzed that for you is having a new, you know, software baby to just get you reinvigorated and start the whole process again.
Totally.
And it probably motivates you to post more stuff on LinkedIn, create more content, really understand the client, learn more, be more curious. Everything can succeed better as a result.
Absolutely.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Okay, I got another question. How do we do a better job to understand what our ideal client profile is? A lot of people suffer with this. They say, we have this market, we cater to these different, you know, industries, this persona type, and we don't know exactly which one to kind of double down on. Give us some guidance on how to connect best with our ICP and not get distracted.
So like this took us 2.5 years at retention.com. I think the greatest thing that happened to us, and it's so hard to do for some reason, is we just stopped selling to everybody who wasn't. So like there were big Shopify stores. We had this publisher audience. We had a political audience that we were selling into, and like one other thing. And like, when we just stopped selling to anybody but the Shopify stores, everything got so much better. It was still a very tumultuous year, but like I just think focus is so hard. Focusing 60 people is more than 60 times as hard as focusing yourself. It's just incredibly hard. So this isn't really the question you're asking, but actually, once you find it out, blocking everybody else out, I think you're doing yourself the biggest favor you could ever do.
Yeah.
Some even go as far as turning people off who are not in the ICP, which I think you have to be in kind of a very abundant position to do that. Maybe we're not in that position right now, but and then to me, it goes back. I don't really know how to do this. We just knew, but like, you know, what audience, what group, what persona do you have the best word of mouth in? And, you know, hopefully, I think no matter what the LTV is of those customers, if you have 3x the you know, user to user referrals coming in from one of your personas than the other, I would try to find a reason to not hone in on, if there is not a glaringly obvious reason. Like the only one I can think of is like there's literally zero willingness to pay, or they like have churn characteristics like SMB and like our other personas enterprise or something, right? Like something that's just really unique to SaaS, you know, in the dynamics of the revenue characteristics. But that's where I would start.
I really appreciate that. How can we measure word of mouth? Give us
like,
a couple of levers.
We never had this. We just knew because it was kind of the only people who we were getting referrals from were these big Shopify stores. But I think if you are tagging by industry as customers come in, and you are then tracking who's actually referring people, then you can pretty easily see you know, as a proxy. It's not perfect, right? Because
So are we talking about like an affiliate program?
yeah, if you like, I don't know, do people track like someone like, do people put a form fill? How did you hear about us?
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like if you have your if you're tagging by persona and you have like a form fill that sort
Yeah.
of says
That makes
something
sense.
like that, then you should be that would be how I did it. Another way you could do it is, I mean, NPS is so hard because I just find it hard to get people to actually fill those out like with a high rate.
Yeah.
But like
Right.
you could look at NPS by persona.
Yeah.
Just anything to like measure, or if you have a usage based product and like, you know, you have 5 personas and like 4 of them have like usage that's like, you know, that's the twitch.tv story. They like were trying to do this thing and 1% of their users were gamers, but they were using the product 1,000 times as much as everybody else,
Yeah. My
you know?
goodness.
So something
So
like
good.
that. I mean, but just, you know, it's kind of like the goal is to hone down, and like you're looking for, you know, indicators of who to hone down on, and
Right. Right.
fewer is better in my opinion,
Okay.
especially
So
sort of earlier stage.
let's summarize what you just said. That's just absolute gold nuggets. You know, number one is I always like to say sometimes you have to fire your flaky friends, which is those industries, those ICPs that are just not really doing great things for you. You know, stickiness is another thing. Like how, like that 1% Twitch example. What a great example, right? 1% of the people that use Twitch were gamers, and then they went all in on gamers, and then look what happened. Amazing. The other thing is, how did you hear about us? That form field, like who has the guts to make that a required field in the sign up process? You know,
Yeah.
like let's make it required. Word of mouth, you know, industry, you know, events, podcasts, like YouTube, social media. I mean, that's old school data, but I mean, how else are you going to find this stuff out? You know, partner program, I always believe in. We have a huge partner program, 30% recurring commissions for Dub. I always recommend that.
Yeah.
Huge. Nuggets. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right, I have a pitch. Can I pitch you on Pitch
Pitch
Tank
me.
here? All
Yeah.
right. So here's my pitch. So I love your product. I'm sold on it. I was introduced to a product called Leadlander sometime back,
Yeah.
and it was we experimented with it. There was a couple of things which I didn't like. Some of the things scared me a little bit on the LinkedIn automation. I
Yeah.
think one point something happened. I forgot what, but I love the premise of being able to figure out who the looky loos are, who the tire kickers are, and then being able to do something proactive with them. I love automation, and I love personalization. You know, my favorite thing
Yeah.
to say is personalization at scale. So my pitch for you is, what if we here at Dub build an integration with RB2B where based on the visitor, based on the traffic, what we can do is we can build a video message like this, a personalized video message like this. This is mine with a you know, book a time in my calendar, some links, things to click on. That way, we sort of go and realize maybe a little bit of scale, a couple of touch points before we do like something super personal, like maybe send an email, LinkedIn, or give them a phone call,
Yeah.
just so that by the time they speak to us, they're like, "Wow, I feel like I know you already, and I just visited your website."
Yeah. No, I mean, this is the type of thing that works incredibly well with. So like Clay, the Clay community. Do you know what Clay is?
I've heard of Clay.
Yeah. So
That,
Clay is like an Airtable spreadsheet that has every possible source of enrichment data. And you buy credits for Clay, and it ends up being cheaper than like buying Apollo and, you know, Seamless or, you know, Similar Web and like all this other stuff. Right. And it just, you have the ability to make these incredible workflows. And then you can like use ChatGPT to like look at someone's website and write them a personalized email or whatever. So, in a, the in a very similar, the video element is not there, but the spirit of exactly what you're talking about, these people in their community are like all over this. It's like use it, you know, because basically it's like whether you take my signal or Lead Lander's signal or, Six Senses signal or whoever. I have a belief that actioning actual intent will drive however you choose to do that, right? You're describing one way of doing it, and we're doing some other stuff. What you're doing is, of course, it's going to work, but it will drive much better results in this sort of sad paradigm that we described earlier,
Right.
than any other thing. And what I'm trying to do is basically create website visits, right? Like by coming on your podcast. So it's like, I'm trying to like crush it as hard as I can in this LinkedIn stuff. I'm trying to get on every single podcast that has anything even close to SaaS founders or revenue people or salespeople or marketers or whatever. And trying to like do keynotes and, just get people to hear any story I have to tell and then be like, what's that guy do? I'm going to go to rbdb.com and check it out. And then lo and behold, you're in the funnel for a free product.
Perfect. All right. So let's get some contact information. How can people get in touch with you? LinkedIn is your jam.
Yeah, LinkedIn is the jam for me. Hit me up there. You can email me at adam@retention.com. Check out rb2b.com. You won't regret it. And yeah, man, I'm kind of all about exactly. I believe that the future of sales is in some way like what you just described with the workflow in your app.
Nice. Personalization at scale.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Adam, I so appreciate you. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for being on Dub's podcast, Connection Loop. Thank you. This was awesome.
Dude, Ruben, thank you for having me, man. You asked great questions. And
thank you. I legitimately am curious. And the way that I found you was because of your content. So please, please, please keep doing what you're doing on YouTube and LinkedIn, because we need you. SaaS founders need you. We need to learn from you. So keep doing it. Thank you.
Rock and roll, man.
Thanks. Stick around for some notes.
Cool.
Thanks, Adam.